Before us, as they usually come each year, and the presentation we sent out, and I'd like to turn it over to the superintendent and her crew.
Yep, thank you very much. So my name is Heidi Driscoll. I recognize most of you from last year. I'm the superintendent of Minuteman, and I'm here with Sarah Montague, who is your school committee rep for Minuteman, and Nikki Andrade, who is our business manager. So I'm very happy to be here to present our 2027 budget recommendations. All right, great. So the first thing I'd like to do is highlight some of our Arlington students. We had 40 graduates from Arlington in the class of 2025 who went on to college, to their CTE fields, and some directly into the workforce and military. Currently, we have 189 students from Arlington, representing all of Minuteman's program majors. Wonderful. We currently have 25 total students out on cooperative education, which means during their vocational week, they go and work in the field. And there's a couple that I'd like to highlight. We have 23 seniors. They've been able to do this all year because they're seniors. In biotechnology, we have a student who's at Mass General Hospital, the Harvard Center for Autism. We have a student from biotech at Northeastern University at the Innovation Campus in Burlington. We have students out in carpentry, culinary, early ed, engineering at Parker Cromerics, and horticulture at the National Park Services at Minuteman National Park, welding and plumbing. Juniors were just eligible to go out on cooperative education as of the second semester, and we have 2 juniors already out. One of them is at the Arlington Animal Hospital, and another one's from advanced manufacturing in high-tech turning. We also this year want to recognize our outstanding vocational student. Some of you I know who have been around for a while know what this is. The outstanding vocational student is something that every single vocational school does to recognize all of the students who represent what we do best in vocational education and make the most of what they have at our school district. So students get nominated by their vocational teachers, then there's a series of interviews by our principal and vocational director, and then one student is nominated as our outstanding vocational student. And this year, the student is Olivia Brownell from Arlington, and she is one of our vet tech students. A couple of highlights. She has a 4.45 GPA, excellent attendance. She is bilingual. She was a part of our FFA Vet Science Career Development event at the state competition, and at the national level, she earned a silver level individual placement and her team place 18th nationally. FFA is formerly Future Farmers of America, but they go by FFA now. It is the agricultural equivalent to Skills USA, which are our vocational trades competitions. And she is also the student who's at the Arlington Animal Clinic on co-op, where she receives high praise. Following graduation, she plans to pursue a bachelor's degree in animal science on a pre-veterinary track and plans to attend veterinary school. Now, if you don't know, our vet science program was added to Minuteman after the building project. So we actually renovated a property on our campus into a vet science space, and all of our vet science students are outside of the building. They're piloting a puppy daycare and clipping nails and doing things like that, just like all of our programs public has access to. It is a testament to what Minuteman does to be done with a building project and still add a program that is in high need in this area. So I just wanted to make sure you know that the work that has been done previously is still being maintained, and Olivia is a great example of that. So what Nikki will be sharing with you is all of the numbers you've been so eagerly waiting for. And we just want to remind you that our budget priorities reflect our values. And at Minuteman, even though people call it a public high school, which we are, the type of education that we do is vocational immersion programming. For a full week, students are in their vocational trade from the time they get there on Monday until the time they leave on Friday. It is a different type of education. I want to thank all of you for being a part of that, and I'm going to turn it over to Nikki to share our numbers.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We have for you today Arlington's preliminary assessment, just shy of 8.3 million, without the debt excluded building project, just about 6.6 million. So I'm going to run through the budget. Overall, our budget that we're presenting is a 2.99% increase from FY26, and it's just under $33.5 million total operating and capital. To break that out a bit further, we have our operating debt, which is a 3.84% increase, our operating capital line, which is really our leases, our athletic field debt, and our capital stabilization. That's decreased just about 4%, and our building project debt has remained very consistent, just less than a 1% change. So overall, our assessments have gone up 2.44% from FY26, but overall Arlington's assessment has decreased just less than 1%. As you're probably very well familiar, or as we'll get into it, our budget does take into consideration the 4-year rolling average of each town, which changes the assessments for each town. So our budget priorities and our budget drivers this year had to do with our staffing. We successfully negotiated the collective bargaining agreement for our teachers for 2027 through 2029. That included this year a 3% increase for FY27, and then steps and levels for those teachers. While we always prioritize some kind of supplies and materials, in particular with tariffs, thinking about like welding, metals, woods, our highest or our biggest budget driver for the non-salary portion of our budget is health insurance. So I'm sure it's something that we're seeing across the state, certainly. So that is something that on the non-salary side is our biggest budget driver. We'll get into a little bit more about our prioritizing capital stabilization, and just a continued reminder that our debt service is offset with the facility rental money for the athletic field debt. So our capital stabilization, we are recommending $1,050,000. That's a $100,000 increase, or about a 10% increase. In conjunction with our capital planning committee, we're recommending slowly increasing this every year until we get to the maximum contribution, which would be this year about 1.3 million. It's 5% of the prior year member town assessment, so that can change. As far as other capital needs within our building, we are right now part of a MSBA recommissioning pilot program. It's a free cost program where the MSBA is actually come to our building and assessing it. They're looking at HVAC, electrical, plumbing, the building envelope, and our building management systems. They're going to provide us with a report by the end of the school year, hopefully this spring, and we should be able to kind of assess the further needs of the building based on that report, which is great. OPEB, or other post-employment benefits, is always a hot topic. We have increased this year a 5% based on the OPEB study committee or advisory committee that was created in 2021. We're just over 3 million funded in our trust fund, and our total liability is just over 17 million. So we are about 18% funded at this point. So as I mentioned, enrollment does tie into the budget and how that's calculated. So just going over the enrollment numbers of our school, our total enrollment, 657, that's the blue line. Our member towns is the red line, that's 615 students, which is a majority of our school is filled with member town students, and then 42 non-member town students. So just to break that out further, of each town and also the grades. Arlington has 189 students, and you will see this year it's pretty much kind of stabled out. Your graduating class was 57 seniors, and your incoming freshman class was about 56. So when you look at that 4-year rolling average, it's kind of just consistent because of the students that have come in and out. For the class of 2023, there's 55 applicants, and they have all received acceptance letters.
As of Monday, as of yesterday?
As of yesterday, correct. But our goal really is to maximize, enrollment for the district. So as I mentioned here, with the graduating class and the freshman class being about consistent, your 4-year rolling average has remained consistent, and that's strongly correlated with your 4-year rolling average. So again, you're just less than 1% for the 4-year rolling average enrollment and the change in your assessment. And just to show you some historical trends of where Arlington has been, this will be the 3rd year where Arlington has seen a slight decrease in assessment. And just to wrap things up, I do like to show the numbers, FY26 to FY27. Again, this just summarizes the 2.99% increase overall to the total operating and capital budget. This is our non-assessment revenue. We have our Chapter 78 and our Chapter 71 regional transportation reimbursement. That's based directly on the governor's budget, which was released at the end of January. One thing to highlight is we have a regional transportation revolving fund. So last year we had an estimate of what that would be, and we received additional funding from the state. So we were able to put that into a revolving fund and offset the next year's budget. So that may be something that you'll see in the future. And as we kind of continue on, you'll see how that impacts the transportation component. But we do receive tuition and capital fees from our non-member students that enroll, and that's paid for through their towns. Again, you'll see our excess and deficiency contribution, as well as that facilities rental revolving revenue that offsets that athletic field debt, as I had mentioned. So here you'll kind of see our transportation budget has decreased year to year, and that is attributable mostly to that revolving fund that we're able to offset member town assessments with. Again, that 2.44% overall total assessments. So that's kind of high level. Thank you. We're happy to answer any questions. We did get some in advance, so if you'd like, we can go through those and then open up for more questions. Great.
Okay. So the first question was about student transfers, which you asked about last year as well. So we just updated our chart. In the FY26 school year, which is this school year, we had 5 transfers. Last year we had 9. As you can see there, the blue bar is there if they're going to a private homeschool or other placement, and the yellow is if it's an in-state public transfer. So that would mean literally within Massachusetts to Arlington or another area. You also asked about the transfer timeline. We have about 200 Arlington students, and this is the transfer timeline. There's 4 different buckets, if you will. So there's a group that are prior to the start of school. So this year, 3 of those that I just shared with you, of the 5 transferred prior to the start of school. So that means they never actually came to Minuteman and ended up going somewhere else. The next bucket is the start of school until October 1st. So why that's a meaningful date is because that's the date where you claim your students and you get your funding for them from the state. The next batch is October 1st to January 31st, which is prior to typically their assignments in programs. So that means before they found out which program they're going to, that's where they went. FY26, we had 2. And 131 or later means that they were assigned to their programs. They were just assigned their programs at the end of January. We haven't had anyone leave, but last year, if you look, which we didn't give you the full year last year because it wasn't over yet, 4 of the students who transferred left after they got their program assignment. So as you might imagine, students have a passion or may want a particular selection, and some, if they don't get that selection, don't stay. And if you want to interrupt if something's not clear, I'm happy to answer it. I see some of you asking questions over there.
Does anyone have questions?
Do you have a question before I continue? Oh, okay. Feel free to interrupt me. Yeah.
Rebecca?
Thank
Oh.
you. On the slide immediately before that, just because it still has to do with transfers.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the one that had the bar right before that one.
This one? Yeah.
Yes, I don't know how to interpret that light yellow line.
Oh, you had asked me in the past, how many of the students are special education students?
Yeah.
So the light yellow is the line showing the total number of special education
So
students.
for this year, should I assume that there are 5, so there's 5 transfers, 4 of them are special education?
Yes,
Okay, and then the 0 at the bottom, in white on that line is,
we have no one who went to private or
Oh,
homeschool
I
or other. Yes, the legend is kind of small at the
Thank
bottom. You're welcome.
And then on the second slide,
Yes,
when you say that they've gotten their programs, I realize with a small number of kids, I don't wanna have identifying information about a small number of kids, but when you say that before January 31st refers to them not knowing their programs, does that mean that most of the transfers are 9th graders?
most of them are 9th graders.
Okay.
I don't have that broken out right now.
No, that's fine, but
that
in
is-
general, it's the 9th
In
graders.
general, it is, but these numbers are so small.
Sure.
You know, somebody moves out of state, their parents, or somebody moves to a different town. If they have a regional vocational school with Chapter 74 programming, they actually can't stay at Minuteman. So if I move to Neshoba Tech's district,
Yeah.
they would have to accept a transfer to there. So that's how that works.
Thank you.
You, Charlie?
I think I'll wait until the superintendent's finished, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I don't, any questions, I'm happy,
Okay.
I'd rather not get too far if you
All
want to.
Any questions so far? Dean?
So can we go back to the enrollment chart?
Like with Nikki's line?
Yeah, it showed in district and
Yes.
out of
Yes.
district and all that. So let me correct, I wasn't here last year, I don't know if this question was asked. I'm probably gonna sound obnoxious, but I'm gonna ask it every year and maybe you'll get used to it. It's an acquired taste, maybe, I don't know. Look, so, no, the part chart that shows like the by town,
Oh, sure. Oh, the next one, got
is that it? That's the one that shows non-members, right?
it. Yes.
on the bottom?
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
So how do we get to what is, so here, let me start, I'm gonna tell you what I care about, and then you can tell me how it works
Sure.
in your process, right? So, we meaning the payers of Arlington pay for this building, we pay for a large chunk of the building, we had to fight for this building, we had to campaign for this building, it was a lot of work, I was cold and wet, and it was not a great time. So I care that Arlington kids who wanna go have access, and I don't care about non-member kids.
Mhm.
Right, and so my concern is always so first I hate seeing non-member kids, I wish they weren't there. Cause I wish the member towns filled it up. So I just always wanna understand the process of like, how did we get to non-member kids? Like,
I'm
were
happy
there
to answer
Arlington
that.
kids who were denied access,
Happy to.
which is a problem? Or was it like, hey, we had some
This
spots?
was asked last year.
And let me just say one more thing.
Yeah.
I do not, if you're going to tell me along the way, there's like I'm not totally unreasonable. Like if you were like, hey, we've got faculty members and they bring their kids to the district.
They don't.
That's totally okay. That's normal stuff we do in the world.
Not
I
at
just
our,
don't want people from
that
like
is
Belmont
actually
showing
not
up.
normal. We can't do that.
Fine.
Can't do that because they would have to live in our district. For the past 3 years, Minuteman has accepted 100% of member students, 100%.
Okay,
Last year, not only did we accept 100% of all of our member applicants, we accepted 100% of our non-member applicants, which brings us revenue that in turn decreases your assessment. So we have our.
so just to summarize.
Yep.
All the member kids have the ability to get in.
ability, and they did for the past 3 years. And as of yesterday,
So that's all I cared about, actually. The
I
rest,
know,
you
but
can
it
tell
was-
me, but we're.
but it was a good story. It
Go
was a
ahead, go
good
ahead.
story, and it
Fine.
wasn't obnoxious, and it was asked last year because that's a responsible question to ask. And I would like to add, if you don't know, I don't know who was here or who wasn't here for the building project, but Minuteman had 16 member towns. This building project was supposed to be much larger for a larger capacity. And because those other towns left, that building project had to be scaled back in size. I will tell you that there are towns that would like to come back who have left. And your sentiments about what the heck is this are seen in other places as well. So I want you to know some of those towns that did leave, if it makes you happy to know they regret it, they regret it. Because what happens now is you are not a priority. You do not get those seats. And if, so right now we accepted every member student, all of them. Even though we sent out acceptances, if an Arlington student applies tomorrow, because we're not full yet, we will accept that student. That is where we are. We will not accept a single non-member student if we have any of our member students who are applying throughout. We are not at that cap. And we do have capacity to accept more students without increasing staff. So even though we're accepting all of these students, we do not have to increase staff at this time because there are things we can do within our structure. So for the out-of-district students, after April 1st, if we are not full, we will look at that number to see who was approved by their other town and things like that, and we may be able to sustain the small amount that we have. But tomorrow, a month from now, over the summer, and this was true last year, when a student from our member towns applied, we accepted them and took them all the way up until that first school day. Yes?
In relation to this, so the non-member students, they don't choose what program they're going into right away, do they?
So they have to have an intent to come for a program that they don't have access to. Some students apply and they have no access to any Chapter 74. If they have a Chapter 74 program or access to it, the superintendent of that district doesn't have to approve it. So that's a whole process in that.
Actually, I meant, so within Minuteman, there are the various programs. At what semester do the kids choose which programs they're going
Semester, at the end of semester 1, their freshman year, and all students go through exploratory. If you come in as a sophomore or something like that, it's a limited exploratory only where there are open seats.
Okay.
Okay, but ninth graders, they all go through exploratory.
And do the town members get priority on which programs they're doing?
No, but we have had all but, I think it was 4 this year, students get their top pick. They are put in their programs and treated equally once they are accepted. This year, we did go through our program placements, and a common phone call or aggressive email to the superintendent would be about program placement. I received 0 of those. Did you?
I've often wondered, when students apply for Minuteman or any vocational school, do they give any kind of preliminary indication what they want to do?
Yes, they do. They give their top 3 choices on the application, so we are aware, and we can have an idea of what things may look like for next year. But without fail, at every vocational district I have worked in, students think they're coming in for one thing, and by the time they are actually exposed to what all of these things are, they choose something else. A great example is advanced manufacturing or machining. Kids don't come in, 99% of kids don't come in knowing what advanced manufacturing is. But if you are in advanced manufacturing or machining, we need you to make every single thing that exists in this room and everywhere. There is a huge demand for machinists and manufacturing jobs in Massachusetts. So when they get exposed to that, sometimes that changes them from everybody comes in thinking they want engineering or thinking they want something that they've seen and not really been exposed to. But as a part of that process of exploratory, we want to make sure they know what they're making that commitment to, because it is all day long, every day, 5 days a week on your vocational week for the existence of your high school career. We need them to know.
Now, after the end of the first semester, they've got to make a selection.
Yep.
How do you do it when it's over, too many kids want to do one particular career option?
So they do get a score, as in the past for a lottery, we had a admission score. There is a score, grades, attendance, behavior, super basic. And those kids are enrolled in their programs. And like I said, we have 19 different areas they can go into. Actually, robotics and engineering is kind of one, but we have such a wide array. We haven't, knock on wood, we have not had that problem. We're up at like 90, I would say 98% or something like that of our top choices. There are other schools with much larger enrollment who are at about 70% of their top 3 picks. That's just not where we are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Students served, can we go to that one, Nikki? As a part of question 1 with who our students are and where they go, you asked this question last year, so I just wanted to bring it back even though we didn't have an explicit question. A part of what we do is we have a very high needs population and special education population. So if you look at the blue line, that is our total population of special education students, not even high needs students, just special education students at Minuteman as compared to Arlington High School. So we do serve a much larger percentage of a very diverse very diverse population. Our freshman class last year, even though our average or our total for 9 through 12 is 42%, our freshman class last year was 60% or nearly 60% students with disabilities. And I think they're doing a great job. The next one, question 2, is contract status. So the question was, what is the contract status? So to interpret that, superintendent, I'm on year 2 of a 3-year contract. I would love to have more years to that. We'll see how that goes. Our business manager right here, her contract is currently under negotiation and it is renewed or hopefully will be renewed this year. Our principal is on year 1 of a 3-year contract, and this doesn't include everybody, but we have a director of HR and compliance who I think just came on 2 months ago, which is a position we should have had filled in September. 2 months ago, and that is year 1 of a 1-year contract, but the plan is to renew that. We usually have, typically when there are new administrators, we have a 1-year contract. And just to add a couple, our assistant superintendent of student services is up for renewal next year, and so is our vocational director. And when I arrived last year, at the beginning of last year, I assume this is why you're asking this, we had an interim superintendent, an interim principal, an interim vocational director, yes, interim just about everything. We do not have any of those positions anymore as interim. We have an actual stable staff.
And the faculty contract has already been agreed to.
It has.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We opened the negotiations in December and concluded in December. Oh, look at this.
Yep, rolls right into it.
So, 11/19, so we didn't actually have a meeting until December, but that is, I will probably never have that happen again. God bless America, it was wonderful. I am so thrilled that we wanted to move on and not get into the tangles that many districts have had over the years with this. And I think it's a very reasonable contract. Question 4, Arlington applications. Well, I think we've already said this. We have 54 applicants from Arlington and they have all been accepted. Question 5, expanding the number of students. What became of past plans for expanding the number of students? So I am not sure what the past plans were. I think the past plans were to add that additional vocational program, which we did, and Vet Tech is thriving. So right now, our goal, our number of seats is 175. But if we need to accept more than 175, we do have some wiggle room if we have member students who apply. Oh, and okay, and here's the vet science question. So what became of past plans for an on-site collaboration with a veterinary practice? So one interim and 2 superintendents ago, there was a plan for an animal hospital to be on site, and that fell through prior to my arrival. However, we currently have an RFP out to explore a potential partnership to renovate our east building, which is where there used to be a daycare center that operated prior to the pandemic, to renovate that and have that as a health sciences center where we would have both our health assisting and our vet tech in a fully operating veterinary facility. So we are actually working on that currently. A new, I guess, rendition of it, but the old plans never panned out. And facility rentals. So this is a breakout of our facilities revolving account. Our primary users are the Boston Bolts, which is a massive club soccer team. Many of you probably have kids or grandkids who are in the Bolts. They are using our fields all the time. They love that we have lights. And the other one is Leslie University. Leslie University does not have their own fields, and we are their home field, and they rent a ton. If you want to look at the breakdown, it's in the budget book on page 20. And the annual capital reserve goes to debt for the athletic fields. And if there's any additional questions you have about that, I'm happy to answer them. Question 8, I think I already kind of addressed, but what became of past plans for admitting new towns? If there were past plans of admitting new towns, I have not heard that. I have heard his sentiments. What the heck are these people doing here? I have not heard of, oh, where are these new towns coming to take our seat?
Well, it was back when we had a school that was built for like 1,100 to 1,200 students. And a prior superintendent chief
Yes.
would get anything he could do to bring in a warm body. So I think the place he was after was Watertown,
Right. So
which was practically a member anyway, because all the students went from Watertown to Minuteman.
we do, well, they have that brand new building as well, but we do have kids who come to us or apply from Watertown, not a ton. But I think what happened in the process of the building project is that people heard Minuteman seats are taken. So we don't get as many out of district applications as they have in the past, because it's just not what we do. Yeah. And the per pupil expenditure, we do have a high per pupil expenditure because of our population. If you look at the next page, our geographic area that we serve, we currently have not had a turnover of educators yet. So some school districts have had, in 2004, some of you may remember this, in 2004, there was a big push for teacher retirement because that's when lifetime licenses were no longer lifetime licenses. And lots of people took retirement plus, and there was a huge influx of new teachers around the 2004 year. So those teachers are now here for 20 years, which is not quite yet retirement age. So we do have 70% of our teachers who are veteran teachers. And as you know from all teacher scales, a veteran teacher with a master's degree looks very different from a new teacher with a bachelor's degree fresh out of college. And I already addressed our special education costs. Overall, 9 through 12, oh, there's the number. We have 57% of our students with high needs. So high needs is a separate category that we look at, so we don't duplicate students. So if a student is an English language learner and a student with disabilities and is low income, and we're looking at those 3 percentages, we could have a student counted 3 times, essentially. So we like to look at our high needs population, which counts a student once. So those are things that require additional custom supports. And again, 57% of our students are high need students. Let's see, you did a great job with your preliminary questions. That is the last one, and I'm happy to entertain more.
Okay, Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Superintendent, the operating capital looks like it's going down, there's decreases. Is that part of a 5-year plan, or why is it going down?
So that's a great question. So last year, we completed with our capital planning committee a study with a group called On-Site Insight that gave us a 20-year projection of capital plans, what the expected lifetime is, what all of these things. So when we got that, we immediately saw that it didn't match what was actually happening in our building that opened in the fall of 2019 and promptly closed in March of 2020 and was not used to capacity for nearly 2 years. So we have had an issue with some things breaking that if it broke 2 years ago would have been under warranty, and this year now it is not. So a part of that pilot group that we're with the MSBA is helping us compare that 20-year projection with reality. So we did not put in our budget for this year, this capital project update, the HVAC, because we really need to be responsible and look at reality in addition to the projections. So we're putting that on pause while we make a concrete plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On your collective bargaining agreement, you mentioned a 3% increase.
Yes.
And a 3-year term, right? A 3-year agreement.
Yes.
So what's the increase each year?
It's 3, is it 3 and then 2.5?
3, 3, 2.5.
3, 2.5, 2.5?
3, 3, 2.5.
3, 3, 2.5.
Yep.
And what's the status of the contributory retirement fund?
Our OPEB?
No, the pension funds.
So we're a part of MTRS.
The Minuteman retirement?
Oh, you're part of the teachers.
Yeah, the teachers are a part of MTRS, which we don't manage, but we do for the small portion of people who are not a part of the teachers' retirement. We do have a Minuteman.
Yeah, the Minuteman retirement system is actually 100% funded.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're one of the
And
top
the
5 in the
last question is, it looks on your second or third page there, it looks as if the number of students from the in-district towns is going down. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, so,
Why is that?
so that is because there are fewer actual humans that exist in our towns. So we actually had an enrollment and membership subcommittee meeting yesterday to talk about this. And there are fewer kids who actually exist, and this is going to last over probably a decade. You'll see in all of our school districts that there is a lower birth rate. When you get to that point, there are fewer. It is right now, 7% of the students who exist in our member towns come to Minuteman. If that keeps up at the 7%, there will still be fewer students because fewer exist. However, if we're looking at our applications from this year, we have 220 applicants who we accepted, and that is only 10 difference from last year at this time. So I would gather by the end of this admission cycle, we will actually have more than 7%. It'll be a little bit more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carolyn?
So when I look at, I'm on the town list again, given what you just said, it appears based on the list that Arlington and maybe Needham will see their percentage of students increase compared to the other towns. Because when I look at the other towns, although they may get some more housing, I'm not convinced the students who will enter into that housing would be applying to Minuteman. I could be wrong. So if you're saying that all of these towns are going to be having less and less students?
Yes.
From what I see, the two towns, that may mean that the percentage of students from a given town will increase, which then means the cost will increase.
If the 4-year rolling average increases, yes. Right this year, Arlington has about 20 fewer applicants than it did last year.
Oh, interesting.
That's just the number.
Okay.
So if you compare it to this time last year, there are 20 fewer students, which is a big chunk. And I met with the Arlington superintendent, absolutely wonderful. Arlington High School is bursting at the seams, and she absolutely is a huge supporter of students going to Minuteman, including students who may want to transfer because they didn't make the right decision. But Arlington has been absolutely wonderful in making choices or helping kids find out those options. But right now we have 20 fewer. So I would anticipate that next year it actually would be a little bit less. But the assessment isn't just your 4-year rolling average. It is also your home values, your property, property values, things like that. So sometimes when an assessment goes up, it's good news in other ways, but bad news for the assessment. And that happened to some of our other towns.
Rebecca. Thank you. Just along the vein of trying to increase the number of kids from member towns, Arlington is doing well in sending a lot of kids. In the past, Arlington had a day where kids could go for the whole day to Minuteman, and some other towns did not, and I think that maybe that was depressing the number of kids that were coming from other member towns. So do all of these member towns now have the day where the 8th grade kids come and visit?
Yes, I think that was stopped during COVID.
Oh, okay.
Because disaster.
Yeah.
But last year it's called Showcase Day.
Okay.
We do have a full Showcase Day, and Arlington sends so many students. We have a separate day just for Arlington.
Okay, but the other towns, do
100%.
go as well?
They do, 100%. And I also want to remind you, since, I know I mentioned Arlington High School, but it is important to remind the people of Arlington that if you are a homeschooler, if you are at a Catholic school right now, this is not, sometimes people have a misperception that you can only come to Minuteman if you've been in the public school system, which is not the case. Anyone who lives in Arlington can apply to Minuteman. And I think we can do a better job with that, reaching out to our homeschool communities and making sure that every single person in the town knows about options.
John?
Thank you. I think I heard you say that there is capacity, and you would use that capacity if students from member towns wanted to enroll. I guess the question is, now, even if students from member towns don't want to fill those seats, doesn't it make financial sense to use that capacity even for non-member towns? Yeah. Wouldn't that bring the cost down?
Yes, we do that.
Okay.
John, here's the numbers, here's the non-numbers.
Yeah, no, okay. I thought it sounded like you were kind of saving space, going
No,
forward, like
we
you were
accepted
potentially-
last year 100% of both our out-of-district students and our in-district students. And we have to make adjustments sometimes if necessary to make sure we're still providing the same quality education. But we've been pretty stable with our number of applicants, but I feel like we do have capacity to.
Given the projections on enrollment and the capacity of the school, have you considered allowing any of the old towns that left to come back in, or perhaps go after a town like Watertown that could give you a chunk of students?
So like I mentioned earlier, we have actually been formally approached by 2 towns. We're talking about literally last night. I was sharing that with our school committee, with our enrollment and membership subcommittee. So is that something that we would entertain? We can't make that decision. It would actually be up to all of, or you know this, you're with the project, it would be up to all of our member towns. So we have to get our ducks in a row, share information with your town managers, and have that conversation. Now, it's a catch-22. Does it make sense? Sure. However, if there is a renewed interest and we have new towns in, and we can only take an additional 25 or 50 students, I wouldn't want any one of these 9-member districts who saved Minuteman to have a kid not admitted. So I don't think there's a, it's a catch-22.
Dean,
So I brought up the enrollment. One thing I would say is, not to tell you how to do your job, right? But to tell you how to do your job, right? I am, as somebody who's been very passionate about Arlington kids getting opportunities, I am also perfectly comfortable with a superintendent who takes the position that their job, like 2 predecessors ago, Dr. McCullen used to say that his job was to provide high-quality vocational education for every child he can get in the door. And that it was our job to tell kids they couldn't show up, which I think we're largely okay with, right? Like, we're okay with like fighting with other member towns if we had to. We don't really fight with them anymore. Or like having like these like tough discussions with non-member towns. But I think largely, what we've always had is a dynamic where we're also okay with you, like superintendent, where superintendent is, saying that their job is to provide high quality vocational education to every child that shows up. And it's okay. Like, to me, it's like if the superintendent says, yeah, I wish the school could be 1,500 kids and 20 communities, it'd be great. That's okay, right? And those, I think sometimes I just want to, because I know you're second year. I think those 2 thoughts can live together comfortably and don't ever have to be in conflict, right? So like it goes to like your whole thought of like, okay, well, I'm looking at the chart and there's a school and on average they're a non-member and they're sending 10 kids a year. They'd like your members secure those 10 spots. It wouldn't displace anyone. I don't think that's an unreasonable proposal, right? But to admit like, someone sent 75 kids and now you're displacing, I don't think that could be tough.
So
That was just my thought.
no, that's a good thought. So the enrollment, the allocation is based on your 4-year rolling average.
Yeah.
So we have never, or at least for the past 3 years, we have not had an issue where Arlington ran out of seats or Stowe ran out of seats. If we were to bring 2 towns in, we would have to have a conversation about what the allocation looks like. And that is something that other school districts do face. You are filled with your allocation. So like Shawshene, for example, if there are 80 students who apply from Burlington and they only have an allocation of 40, then those 40 kids get accepted. If there's another town that doesn't fill their allocation, those are still the seats of that other town. And we haven't had that issue here, at least for the past 3 years. And from what I can tell from what Dr. McCullen tells me, is we have not had that previously. But it is something we do need to be aware of because allocation limits exist for a reason if you are ever in that position. Yeah.
Charlie, and then Michael.
I also think if you bring in new towns, there has to be a conversation about their capital allocation. In other words,
yes.
They've already missed 3 or 4 years of payments.
Yes, so
And,
you are
there has to be
100%
something in
correct.
there.
That's a part of the buy-in that would have to be discussed and agreed upon by all the towns, what that looks like, what the formula is, and what that would be used for.
Michael.
The pad site that was developed up to the point of just slabbed and plumbed and utilities in, was that completed?
The north.
Oh, the north building. Yes, it's actually about to open formally next month. So that is a
Metal fab or something else?
it's Metal Fab and Advanced Manufacturing are currently in the same space, which doesn't allow us to have as many students as we'd like in those programs. So welding is moved. It's the north building, and it is spectacular. And it took a little long to build. Our students did it. The last time I visited, the students were in the manhole underneath getting fiber optic wires to come from our main building to the, I couldn't even believe it, to the north building. And we just have to finish getting our occupancy, go through those steps for occupancy and then move the gigantic machines into there. And that's where our welding is.
Theater is fully up and running?
Yes, and I would like to invite you, if anyone wants to come for a tour. I love it. It's one of the joys that I have as a superintendent. I would love to have you come in. If there's anything you'd like to see in particular, I'm happy to give a tour because I think it's important that all of you are able to speak about Minuteman and what happens there.
The Arlington Children's Theater also rents our space and does shows as well, so.
Ellen Jones?
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the adult programs and numbers and?
Yes.
I didn't see it on the non-assessment revenue, so I didn't.
So our adult programs right now are funded mostly through CTI grant, which is a state grant that brings students from, adult students from Mass Higher into Minuteman. We do not actually, I can tell you how many adult students we have from our member towns. Do you have? 4 total. We only have 4 adult students from our member towns. The students primarily are from all over the place, not our member towns.
What, how many?
I don't know the total number.
Dozens, hundreds?
I want to say, I don't know for sure. I want to say it's under 100.
So they come in the CTI grant, is there no revenue associated with it?
It pays for the actual program. It pays for our teachers, and we're not making revenue from our.
So we do have CTI grants which cover the tuition that would be free if they qualify. We also have tuition based, so we run Cosmo, plumbing, electrical, and and so we have 4 programs that run tuition based. So that's in its own separate revolving account. We collect the money, the revenue, and then the expenses pay for the teachers and all of the supplies that they need.
Okay, so thanks, because I was wondering why it wasn't, it isn't in the non-assessment revenue table.
And you won't see
Because
it
it's
in the.
coming in a revolving.
Yeah, and
It revolves,
budget.
it's in its own separate account, and while this is just the general.
And it's sort of break even?
Yes, at this point, we are seeing a bit more money because of the CTI grants. We're actually able, it's structured in a way that the schools can benefit by getting space rental revenue from the grant. So that's kind of how they get the schools to want to run these programs. So I'd say right now it is break even.
There's no real financial, so I'm wondering if the adult program, if growth in the adult program might compensate for the decrease in the
So we don't have the adult program in our operating budget at all, because it's self-sustaining. But
there's no potential revenue.
I want to tell you, we do not have a thriving adult program.
Okay.
If we did, would there be revenue? Yes.
Okay.
But we do not have a thriving
So
adult.
that's a possible growth.
It is a possible area of growth,
Okay,
100%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Anything you want to add? Alright.
I guess I just want to thank Al. Al does come to visit us. He does. And it's a joy to have him in your town manager.
Brownies,
sure.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have bake sales at town meeting this year?
Yes.
Oh, you demanded it last year. We will bring it back. They were thrilled to do it. We actually, do you know we sold out? Do you know that? Like everything was purchased. So we will absolutely. Who, was it Early Ed who we let do that last year?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep. And I think there was a link that you actually had to sign up, so I'll make sure I get that link and get us on the date that we're presenting.
Okay.
Our town meetings are so exciting, they build up appetites.
And they're so long.
Yeah, make sure it's coffee.
We'll do our
Make
best.
sure there's caffeine in that.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. This has been very
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you for all the additional slides.
No problem.
let's quickly knock off the minutes.
Oh, and thank you for letting us go first, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Safe trip home.
Thank you.
Has everyone had the opportunity to look at the minutes?
For your name spelling.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. 15 opposed, abstentions. 3 abstentions. All right. All right, Alex Foskey, would you like to make a motion regarding Article 71, Minuteman?
And I'll make the motion and I have a few words to say. So I move that the FinCom approve the Minuteman assessment of $8,268,757. Of that, about $1.6 million is exempted debt service. So the operating is considerably less than that.
Second.
Discussion.
I think by the way, take advantage of the school out there is really impressive, and I think if we're going to put a bunch of us and go see the school and then the new building, I think that would be great. I think Minuteman has had for years an excellent vocational program. I think a vocational program at this level is extremely important, especially getting into mechanics and things that really meet the modern economy. They have drop programs that no longer have a market. Unfortunately, my son took one of them. Took drafting for 4 years, has a certificate, and there's just no drops. So it's good to see that they drop things when they're no longer good. It's the most expensive vocational school in the state, and I think and I gave you the numbers so you can see. There are several vocational schools up in the 30s. Minuteman is 37,000. I think the reasons are what you went through before. Their special ed costs are extremely high compared to other vocational schools, and that just is expensive. Even though they don't get the heavy-duty $200,000 a year special education, it still has the whole areas just to get kids up to speed on reading and doing that stuff, and that's expensive. Transportation, they go all the way from Arlington to Lancaster. So their transportation costs are fairly high. And as she explained before, the teacher salaries. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop doing my survey out of the Department of Ed and sending it to them and have them I want them to keep knowing that we are concerned with costs and they need to keep controlling it. Their per student expenditures, they've gone up about 4.5% a year over the last several years, which I think, considering what health insurance is doing to local budgets that we all know about, that's not bad. And so, especially when you consider, you got a 3% cost of living, and then on top of that, you got steps and lanes, bringing that up, and you put health insurance on top of that. And they do have to keep buying fairly expensive machinery to keep up with the technology. I think their budget has increased at a reasonable way, a reasonable rate. So therefore, I've been very impressed with the superintendent. Considering what we used to have to go through 15 or 20 years ago, I think she's trying her best, and it's nice to have the stability there. And so I recommend favorable action on the budget.
Okay, anybody else? Alan?
In the last 4 years, enrollment's dropped like 5%, and it sounds like there's a demographic cause that might be out 10 years. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
Well, the basic fact of life is that it's a stereotype, it's a blue collar school in a white collar district. And, you're never gonna be able to pull a lot of kids out of Dover or Weston or a lot of the other places. The two poor towns are Lancaster and Arlington. I know about Lancaster, but Arlington's not that poor anymore. So I think it is an issue, and I think that once it gets to a certain point where we could use about 40 or 50 extra kids, bringing a town like Watertown in, I think makes a lot of sense. And I'd be interested to know what the two towns were that have applied to get back in. I'd be shocked as heck if one of them's Belmont, considering how much they fought to get out. But I'd like to see them open up to that.
Do you remember what the target capacity was when we talked about the new building?
628 was the target capacity.
Okay.
No, 668, I think.
621.
Yes,
628
okay.
at 85% capacity, which was the target number.
Yeah, okay, so 628 was the target. I think we're at 654 now.
Right. So I mean, those are all the reasons. I'm just wondering if we should be concerned or if there's any actions we should take to respond to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting now, of course, Arlington's just built a nice new school, so I would expect that Arlington's enrollment might drop a little bit. But they have a nice new school too, so. And if you start hitting a recession, kids might be thinking more about a vocational training rather than 4 years of very expensive college.
Yeah, it sounded like there was possibly potential for more adult education that actually made some money. So I'm hoping they're exploring the other potential option. Thank you.
Michael?
The adult component used to be larger, and it was a contributor to the bottom line previously.
And I keep hearing there's a huge shortage of plumbers and electricians and automotive.
Right now, they're only taking the adult students who are approved for tuition funding on their own, and so the state reimburses Minuteman discreetly for those kids. It's not a moneymaker. It used to be a moneymaker. That's a change in the funding requirement. I asked about, they were very responsive to all of our questions. A lot of those the slides that were added to the presentation were my questions about numbers, contract status, and things like that. All to the positive. The theater space took a lot longer to get fitted out. The goal was always to have a professional, regional quality theater building with the installations, the electronics, the advanced communications inside to run the sort of theater tech program that would lead to Emerson, Northeastern, other schools in the area. It's one of the options that they're still sort of notionally carrying as a new major, or as they say at Minuteman, a shop. So that could be in the future. Bottom line for me is every year, between 98% and 99% of graduates are either pursuing higher ed related to their high school studies, or they're working in something related to their high school studies, or they've enlisted in the armed services. So education works.
Anybody else? All right, we have a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, budgets. Let's start with IT.
All right, so there was a updated set of sheets sent out electronically. I do have paper copies here if anybody wants one, either now or after the meeting. There's 2 pages, so I got it. So the change to these 2 sheets versus what was in the original budget book is simply breaking out cybersecurity costs. Both the line items getting broken out into their own line items. So you have cybersecurity training and cybersecurity maintenance now separated, and then the one staff position, the one salary position, it was security manager, now it's cybersecurity manager. That's what the actual job title is. The point, this was a recommendation we made last year that kind of got slipped through the cracks with, I think, with Alex leaving and Julie taking over. But I got it done to get it in there because the main thing is to expose those so that if they're, it's clear that they're protected, or if they're getting cut, it's very clear that they are. With that, talking about the positions a little bit, these are just the town side. There's another 12 school IT positions that are in the school budget. We did fill the cybersecurity manager position, so you have a person that's focused on cybersecurity, which is a good thing. But there have been some cuts to the school IT. So I'll bring that up just for the people that do the school budget. You may want to dig into that. Currently, they've eliminated the service tech position entirely, service desk tech, and they are not currently backfilling the director of operations or the network engineer, pending the March 28th vote, and it's part of the freeze. Personally, I don't think that's a great idea. I think those are pretty important positions, but leave it to the school team to talk to them about that. And then finally, there probably will be some retirements over the coming years. A lot of the staff is getting close to that, but there's nothing definite right now. So, so that's positions. I'm going to move to an event people, just to get this done. The fire. What happened? So no IT equipment was actually damaged. Facilities detailed the damage to that side. As far as if you want to call it, uptime and things like that. Well, first off, they actually have a draft disaster recovery plan, which they got to try out. And one good thing was they were able to take down the strips gracefully before the fire department cut the power to the buildings. So that was actually a nice thing. And the building was out for, like she said, 45 minutes to an hour. They got temp power in pretty quickly. But that means that they were offline for that time. And they did uncover a problem with UPS, so that's part of this that they're fixing. So that's pretty much the extent that I know about the fire and what happened. I think it was more of a problem for facilities. But it did bring up some issues that I'll talk a little bit about. The other thing that I know people ask about is cybersecurity. And, where are we with that? As we know, it's an ongoing effort. The town's made a bunch of strides, with email protection, MFA, training, phishing stuff. I mentioned that they hired the cybersecurity manager. We've separated out the budget line items. The other thing they've done is they have done a evaluation using a framework called NIST 2.0, which is National Institute of Standards, which goes through all the various areas of cybersecurity. And they've taken a good look at that, and they've sort of evaluated themselves honestly about that. The leaders of the school and town have seen that. I don't think it'll be, and so that's good news that they have actually looked at that, and that helps inform plans for moving forward and implementing things. But there's still a lot to do. obviously, I don't want too many details in open session, but, but there is still, some governance gaps. I think there's still, a town school, gap. And, they're gonna need to continue to have a coordinated approach between the town and schools and figure out what they wanna do, and they need funding. Which is, so this can only go so fast based on the budget constraints that we all have. Which brings me to an issue I've uncovered that means we're probably not gonna vote this budget tonight, but we'll talk about it. So there's, if you look at the line items, you'll see there's cuts to software maintenance and Munis support that may not be realistic. You see, there's basically, there's some things got moved around here, but there's about $40,000+ in cuts to both of those. And these are things like licensing fees, stuff that you kind of have to pay. So it doesn't really work. Sophie kind of, I think, brought up, that this sort of across the board thing maybe isn't going to work. I think we're hitting a part where that's true. There's also some requests that she needed to make for, that IT needed to make for OpenGov and One Meeting expansion and E911 expansion, which is the electronic 911, which is a state requirement. There was some places that got missed, like the police department evidence room apparently didn't. Someone thought that didn't need a phone, which they obviously did. So what this all comes down to is there's about $232,000 here that's going to have to be filed in some way. And I spoke to the CIO about this a bit yesterday. She's dealing with a family medical thing now, so I couldn't do more today. And Jim is out this week. So they are going to have to sit down with Julie, who I had some conversations with, and figure this out. So I think before we vote anything formal, we need to get more clarity on how we're going to deal with this. Because as Julie said, we will pay our contracts. Period. We have to do that. So, I wanted to bring that up, and we can talk more about that. I can talk through some of the other line items, and I'll do that, and we can talk a little about what, if anything, we want to do now or possibly in the future to deal with this. So, we thought there is cybersecurity training. They're basically the CIO and the security manager are building a knowledge library, building a library, and going to test that out with people and see how they like, how it works and how they're doing. As far as other training, there's the Munis conference. There's something called PACE training. There's three people are doing network certification. They discontinued Skillsoft for 10 to 12K a year because this wasn't being used enough. And there's a couple other conferences for OpenGov and some other stuff that they may try to get to. One of them though is always in Vegas, so with travel it's probably there's possible contracted stuff from overflow for training, network maintenance. Some of the network, there's some stuff that the networking team is not right now certified to do, so it goes out. But that's part of why we're getting certifications. Telephone stuff is pretty much what it was last year. RCN and 20K, Verizon at 15. They've retired all the POS lines that they can. And I mentioned the E911. There's 8K now and another 3.6K for that. But she thinks that's it. Then they will have found all the missing pieces. Computer maintenance is flat. One thing we may be able to grab some reduce here is the operating system main DB. Is now? Yeah, he's there. Good. So she has said she's not funding Informix as of July 1. So, so that's only like 4,500, but I guess they're going to have to do something about the water meters I mean, he suggested that they start whacking people with an administrative fee who don't wanna let their meters get upgraded, but, I guess legal's involved in that now, but hopefully yes, the warnings is going away. One little piece of good news. And I mentioned, software maintenance and some of the problems there. Munis also, because, Munis raises their prices too, so cutting it by 50% doesn't really work very well. Network maintenance is flat, that's the town Comcast switches, the body cams, firewalls, VMware, voice over IP. Computer supplies and in-state travel is pretty minor. And then the offsets, there's the school salary and there's, water and sewer stuff that goes on as well, which I didn't get all the details on. I can if people are really interested. And then for the capital budget, which is actually, if you want to look at that, I think the one thing there that stuff that I asked about was the network. There's something called network resilience, and that is consulting to look into how do we have a redundant network itself. Because if Grove Street were to go down, say because there was a fire, they would be really stuck. And there are ways that this could be redone to have a failover. So that's what network resilience means. Beyond that, there was, a couple things. The town software upgrades was, funded. SBIM was put off for a year, and network infrastructure was funded, which is good. Unfortunately, cooling was not. Buildings was not funded. Reasons for that. Well, which we'll get into probably when we talk capital, but because I'd be curious to hear the reasons for that. And really, I think that's basically what I had. So I think one question that we can either discuss now or ponder is, given this gap, do we recommend any kind of overall increase in this budget, partial or not? They are not, no one's requesting that yet, but I'm seeing this gap, and it's something we may want to think about. We may need more information before we would do something like that. I can drill more into the exact units and software maintenance items in particular to get full listings of that.
So I see the 27 budget request, and many of these line items are higher than the actuals in 24 and 25. Do you think there's some capacity there to make up the?
Yeah, that's a good point. I can ask about that. I mean, I'm not sure when she'll be back online, given her personal situation, but I certainly plan to follow up with her. So I will make sure I ask. That's a good point.
It may not add up to 232,000, but
right.
Might help.
But I mean, this is not going to be done in one fell swoop. I'm sure. Whatever they have to do, it's going to be a piece here, a piece there, a piece there.
Annie and then Alan.
So you mentioned the tension between town and schools. In theory, 20 years ago, we created one department for IT. And in theory, the CIO is the top of both town and schools, IT. So I would love it when we look at this budget, if we looked at all the positions in both town and schools as one list, because there may be some redundancy. Does that make sense? Let me finish my thought, my question, okay? And in terms of the software maintenance and unit support, and network maintenance actually is down, those are really broad line items. I don't know whether or not you'll be able to give a detailed schedule, and you can see like which software maintenance.
Yeah, I would drill into that.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if anybody else here is interested in seeing it, but I would like to see that because, professional interest. So, those are my thoughts. And no, I don't wanna vote this budget until we know what's going on with those lines, because I don't wanna short maintenance that we have to pay. And then the discover you have to make a reserve fund transfer.
No disagreement there.
Altowski?
Yeah, I mean, the munis support, cutting the munis support doesn't look like it makes any sense, because if you look at the actuals for 24 and 25, they're lined up just about right. 267, 273, 274, and then all of a sudden we cut it down to 233.
It doesn't make sense.
But software maintenance, went from 182 to 273 to 352. Maybe there's a logic behind some cutback there, but you're right. We need to get
Detail.
Jordan and then Paul.
Yeah, and Topher, I appreciate you being forthright and candid about, we need to revisit this. We need more detail. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And that was sort of the impression, going through facilities, that was sort of the impression that I got. We're making cuts and, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. So, yeah, I echo what Annie and Al just said. I think we really should get some more detail on what these actually mean so that, we're not trying to find money at the end of next fiscal year to balance the budget for liabilities that we cut funds from, knowing full well we actually had to pay the full thing.
Would not be an unforeseen justification for a transfer from the reserve fund.
Yeah, but we would do it anyways.
Whether it's a reserve fund or departments, wherever it comes from, it just seems like it's a theme.
Do you know how the 2026 expenditures are tracking with the budget for 2026?
Oh, I haven't gotten the news report.
That'd be a good thing.
Alan Jones?
Thank you. The $23,000 for cybersecurity training, do you have a sense of what the coverage is? What percentage of town and school staff is being trained, and how aggressively, and what the logistics are of getting everyone trained?
I think it's more on the town side. People are getting trained. I know there's some training that goes on. I know this gets tied up in contracts, in collective bargaining, and what you can mandate and what you can't. I think that's been a sticky point on the school side. So I think in other words, I think Jim has mandated it, and the superintendent feels she can, so it's offered, but it's not necessarily.
Okay, so out of the whole, let's say, town population of people who touch computers, has everybody had a shallow training,
I
or
think
a few
everybody's
people with
getting,
deep training?
everybody's getting.
So it is,
It's been mandated.
it's getting,
And then it takes that, and then they're building a library which will presumably grow and expand. I've never used no before.
okay, yeah, when they get the library, I'd love to see it.
Carolyn?
Thank you.
So I agree, I'd like to see have you seen, we don't necessarily have to see it, but have you seen the school positions? Because we used to do that, I did this budget for 8 years. We used to do that, I didn't necessarily present it. I'm not so concerned about overlap as I am about the fact that they're cutting positions because they don't wanna, because it's not a student facing position.
Right, yeah, that's my.
So that's, yeah, so I would wanna see, I want at least you to see that.
Yeah, no, the two that are being
Right,
frozen right now, I think, are important for cyber.
right.
So not just for general T. So now that may change in 3 weeks, but right now I just think that is something. Yeah. So I will say we haven't gotten the school data, the actual data in the past, but we probably to Anne's point, we should.
Darryl?
So just a couple of points that kind of illustrate the counterintuitiveness of decrease in subscriptions. We've approved capital requests to increase OpenGov to support permitting for Health and Human Services, and then also to increase Munis to support employee self-service. So the demand for both is going to go up. So the cutting.
But capital's funding it for a year.
Yeah.
Right. And that, yeah.
Then in terms of schools, I mean, we spent, as Chris Moore and I will talk about next week, we spent a ton of time Patricia, and the school department. I think we had, like half a dozen meetings, some of them on a couple of hours. And a whole chunk of my life gone forever. Trying to really figure out between town IT and school IT, you know, how those jived or did, and it's kind of disturbing how the lack of coordination there and the sort of separateness of, you know, the school department IT and their network, and town IT and their network, and the implications that has. For example, in the security realm, I think it's the retirement board that was trying to get insurance and couldn't because the school department can't afford to pay for endpoint security for all their devices. So at some point, some decisions are going to have to be made about either it is one, you know, one network and, you know, security policies apply to everything, or we really separate this network.
Well, I think too that it's not only the CIO. I think there is to some advancement of CIO having to approve any new technology, which wasn't always the case. But my understanding is superintendent did pull school IT out.
Should not have happened.
It's in effect two separate.
Yeah, and even though they're nominally under Patricia, I'm sure you've seen, we saw it, she's had to struggle sometimes, and I'm not impugning anybody, but she's had to struggle sometimes to get information on what they're actually funding.
What they're doing.
Not good.
Other questions? Charlie and then John.
I think this might be a question for Darryl, but along the lines of what you were just talking about, you know, the school has their independent academic software, things, you know, student performance and all this stuff. And, but they benefit a lot from Unisys. I mean, there's payroll, there's all sorts of other things that they benefit from in getting the books integrated and so forth. Are they paying for the Unisys, or is all the Munis cost here?
Well, I think this is all the Munis cost here.
So,
and that's not just, I mean, other departments in the town also benefit from it. So it's a question here of how to do that.
but I mean, other departments in the town are not segregated the way
the school
department is segregated. So we're pulling all these numbers together to come up with a budget for the town, the manager's budget.
Yeah.
But if the manager's budget at 50, you know, I think there are more employees in the school than there are in the town, right? So just on the payroll alone, the Unisystem is funding the school. And I'm sure there are other, I mean, I don't have all the modules in mind, but I'm sure there's a lot of them that are running the school enterprise.
Yeah.
So that would argue for a bigger offset, at least.
Yeah, or something. In other words, it's just.
Yeah, well, I mean, given the offsets that, as far as I know, exist, you know, it's that there is half of the cybersecurity manager is paid for in the schools. But, and then the other stuff is like water and sewer.
Yeah, off the balance sheet.
Yeah, so you're right, I don't see a Munis offset.
That might be worth considering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you say we're missing $200,000 in cuts?
232.
How do you get there?
Yeah, I only got 150%.
Well, there's the two, okay, no, it's the, so there's, and it's because we broke out cyber, it's a little bit, that part's a little confusing, but basically the overall cuts to software maintenance was 44,211. The cuts to Munis support was 41,204. And then there were three unfunded requests he made that are not funded that are easy to figure out. One is for OpenGov, which is 123K. One meeting, which is 20K, and the E911 expansion is 3,600. And when I totaled that up, I got 232,015. Possible.
So the 123 isn't on here at all.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like these were requests she made that were not granted, But now it's like, what do you do?
Thank you.
Josh?
You may have mentioned it, but the increase for cybersecurity, do they feel like they have everything that adequate for?
I mean, there's a lot more they could do. So should,
What is this one particular software product?
I'm sorry?
Is it one particular software product that the 49,000 is for?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's CrowdStrike.
It is, okay.
It's not really maintenance, it's operations.
I mean, I'm surprised that we don't get phishing emails or anything like that
We do,
periodically.
we do, they get them all the time.
Well,
that's
the
what
town
the
sends them
training
out
is.
as an
No,
test?
We're doing penetration testing, aren't we, Chris?
External.
I mean, that was
Web
part of
property
what
building.
they decided they needed to implement as part of preventing the next.
yeah, there's some.
I mean, since we have town emails, I would expect that I would get one periodically, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I do, maybe it just goes right into my spam. You know, I know at work I get a thing that says, you know, you've got a Valentine or
Right, you get,
whatever,
you
and,
get phishing texts.
and then a lot of people click on it, which is probably the main way that stuff is reached.
Or you get, you just, you took your training, but you just haven't finished it, you just click this button, that's what it gets a lot.
Paul?
So the offsets did go up even though the expenses went down, so why are the offsets higher, is that all?
Well, one is the cybersecurity manager's salary went up. And the other is, it's done, and it's the offset, the other offsets, and I'm gonna have to look something up here to really answer this. No, I did, there's an explanation for last year's, because we went into all this.
2027 offset is based on 2026 numbers.
Right, but it's also, so, and I don't have the exact number for you, Paul, but it's basically, it's based on a percentage of the FY '26 budget, which was larger than the FY '25 budget. And it's basically kind of a historic amount. I think it comes from the audit firm. That's one of them, that's the departmental offset, and then there's the health insurance offset, which is based on the projected health insurance costs for FY '27. It's probably not completely baked yet. So that's gonna go up, so that's where that comes from.
Water and sewer, right?
Yeah.
And the offsets are generally calculated on the salary lines, not the expenses. The salaries are going up, so the offsets are going up.
Well, it's the salary, and then there's the total budget. So it's a percentage of the total.
I have a question, is OpenGov, was that software that was bought from Capital in the previous year?
Yeah, I believe so. No, I think that's right. You guys have
It's
it.
so the primary purpose of it is the software that inspections uses for permitting. And now they're starting to expand that out to other permitting applications.
But for most of these things, right, capital funds the first year, and then it has to go to operations.
Yeah, I think it's
That
always been a
that
subscription model.
policy is new as of last year.
It's a-
Prior
it's
to
a
that,
yearly
we were
subscription,
funded.
it's a yearly subscription,
It's
it's
often
often
got
just keeps getting more and more
Yeah.
expensive.
Okay, one at a time. Daryl, I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
So, it was one of these things, a subscription product, and the first year comes out of the capital budget, and succeeding years have to come out of the.
Yeah, it has to come out of operations.
Which is an ongoing challenge for any SaaS applications in these days.
Yeah.
That's most of
That's
it.
most of them.
Yeah, everything is, thank you.
Other questions? Other information that you want Topher to get for us?
All right, well, I have a list. You know, and I'm sure, I mean, once Jim's back, they're all, they're estimating. So
Thanks for
keep you
giving us a
posted.
heads up on this, and so maybe next week we'll have some decisions.
Yeah, hopefully. I'll definitely push for that.
All right, thank you. Treasurer collector, can we do that budget tonight?
And postage. Page, page 43 on the budget book. So Topher and I met, I guess, a couple weeks ago, right, with Ellen Gallagher, who's the new Lynn Gallagher, who's the new treasurer. Thanks to Julie. Julie was there, so it was good from a historical perspective. Good continuity. So we talked first about kind of the general office, things going on there. The prudent investor rule has been implemented, and they're in the process of modifying the portfolio based on what they increased flexibility that they have. And they've switched asset managers from Rockland Trust to Morgan Stanley after an RFP process, so that transition is still going on. Fees are less for Morgan, which is good. And so far, they're happy with Morgan's approach and their suggestions for how to improve the portfolio, which is about $30 million of investment. So they're pruning, adding more index funds, more T-bills. They're staying with a 65-35 split between equities and fixed income. So pretty much staying the course. In December to December, performance was about 8.7%. So it seems like things are managing on a steady course. It's good to have the rule implemented. They do have a policy statement as well. We got a hard copy. I'm sure we can get a soft copy of the I forget the exact name of it, but where is it? Yeah, the investment policy statement. So pretty much kind of describes the bounds of what they can do, what they can't do. So if anybody wants a copy, you can get them a copy. Their operational fund is mostly at Eastern Bank, which hasn't changed, about $48.50 million, gaining about 3.56%. And they're still actively, with that money, still shopping around to different banks to try to get better interest rates, higher rates. We did lose some of the income from the Arlington High Fund. We used to get about $3 million a year in interest when the school was being built. That's down to about $1 million right now, but we never accounted for that in the budget, so it's not. We never saw it, so we don't miss it. And then there's no real concerns on the investment front. On the debt front, we're still AAA, which is good. It's an S&P rating. They did point out that S&P is changing their methodology, so it's going to take into account more debt. So it's something that could impact us, but there's no forecasting that it will. We're about $400 million in debt right now, 300-ish through the school, the DPW buildings, and then just capital that we take out every year, $5 to $13 million annually. Right now, the true interest is about 3.5%, which is on the debt, which is down from 2023. Cash collection is going pretty well. They have a good process with the various departments that collect cash. The clerk, the rec, council on aging, they're all PCI compliant, which is good. We're doing invoice cloud and open gov for online payments. I'm seeing more of that, which is good. But it does require more reconciliation. And there's no interfacing to Munis, which is not good. Munis is not a great story. Parking fines are increasing, thanks to the control point at the registry, where if you don't pay your ticket, you can't register your car. So that's and we have a third-party firm doing that. We used to use Munis, but
wasn't that good with modules, so we switched to this third party called Kelly and Ryan, it was last year, the year before. So that's good, fines increasing. We run about 2 parking control officers, although I think we have room for 3, but we seem to make, there's always one kind of in flux, so we seem to have 2 kind of all the time. No issues with tax collections, still greater than 99%. A lot of those taxes, property taxes paid as part of escrow. And just forecasting in general, forecasting the revenue is difficult because it's so lumpy and we don't have a good forecasting tool, but Lynn's using a homegrown spreadsheet that she's developing. We talked a little bit about controls. You know, a few years ago, 3 years ago, we had the process breakdown that led to the breach. And so they're on it, and they did put new controls in place. They are using this COSO framework. They have new processes in place. The people have been trained. They have separation of duties, dual authentication for disbursement of funds. And they do have, it has been audited. So it's been audited by several different auditing firms, Powers and Sullivan, CLA, Roselli. So it seems like they've got that under control too. So that was good to hear. If the override doesn't pass, there's no concrete statement made. If the override doesn't pass, boom, 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 we're gonna lose this. A lot of what they do is compulsory. They have to mail out the bills by certain dates. So it's kind of more like what they do have some discretion on is just service times or cycle times would increase. And for the compulsory stuff, which is mailing out the bills on certain dates, that would have to rely on overtime, so overtime budgets may increase. They do use a third party called CLA. Forget the name. Remember the name CLA stands for? It's a third party firm, what the letters stand for. But they may rely more on them. They do some higher level functions for them. If they do need more capacity, if the override doesn't pass, then they might be able to lean on that. So that's kind of like the overview. And then on the actual budget, the expenses, there's nothing too extraordinary here. And I mentioned overtime might be higher. As you'll see, there's some vacancies in the staffing that might drive that. Everything else is pretty much in line. The banking services is down 20 grand, and their view is that's just right sizing, but that also includes CLA. So we'll see what happens with that. The printing from 4 grand to 25 grand, that was just a recategorization. So now this year they're forecasting 22,500. But everything else seems to be in line with what they've been doing in the past. So I make a motion, right? I make a motion to approve the treasurer collector budget for 737,182.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions for Judge Hall and then Joe? Bob?
Vacancies. How many
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have talked about that, yeah, I missed that.
How many vacancies do they have now?
I'm sorry, I missed that, Paul, thank you. So there's 3 vacancies right now, including the assistant treasurer. So because of the hiring freeze, they can't fill it. But that particular one is queued up, like the job description's written, ready to go. So if the freeze lifts, then they can act on that. For the other 2 vacancies, they're vacancies, but what they're doing is.
Well, one is frozen until 2027.
Till 2027, but what they're doing more broadly is they're gonna assess the overall workload of the office. And they've already started shifting some, so there's no statement beyond that, but it's good that they're gonna assess the workload and determine what's the right thing to do.
So it's not causing them a problem right now with their work, or?
It's causing, there's more work and they're working harder, but yes, it is causing some some extra work that has to be done with this, to be honest.
But maybe they will need to fill 2 of these vacancies.
I'm sorry, what?
They may only need to fill 2 of these vacancies.
They're gonna assess their workloads and and determine what they need to do.
Thank you.
Charlie?
So, my question is sort of similar to Paul's, slightly different, angle, we use that term. So a few years ago, all of the transactions for the tax collection were checks coming in the door, people counting the checks up. We spent quite an effort over a number of years to get internet payments. And a lot of the outgoing payments are now electronic as well. That should mean that there's efficiencies there, that we don't need all the same number of people that we had 10 years ago. And I'm wondering, this is not just a problem in the Treasurer's Department, this is a problem throughout the town and the school. And what are we doing to try, I think you mentioned it, that they're looking at the workload. But you also said, well, they're working harder, but are they working on the right things? In theory, if you've got these electronic payments coming in, that's somebody that doesn't have to pile up the checks and double count them and so forth,
Yeah, you're right, but to the degree, I don't know to the degree how much that alleviates other workloads. What I will say is that they are absorbing the postage person. So the half postage person is now.
Email has reduced a lot of the paper.
Yeah, welcome to the 90s, yeah.
So, second question is, you were talking about the, managing the treasury funds and so forth. How are they managing the bond portfolio? I don't know if this is a question for the Capital Planning Committee or for the Treasurer's Department, but, come every year the Capital Planning Committee comes up with X number of borrowings that we have to undertake, and then they go out and they do a bond sale, and those things they're coming up in the operating budget every year, and rolling off and rolling in. What's the system that they use to manage that,
I don't know what the system is. They do I think typical bond issuance, they'll send the RFP and so forth, but I don't know.
Well, the reason I asked the question is that a number of years ago, it was a Excel spreadsheet that was cumbersome, let me put it that way.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
And just trying to understand whether all of this money that we're spending on Munis or some other thing is actually making it more accurate and less work.
Yeah. So how do we manage the bond?
That's the gazillion towns and cities that do this. It's not,
Somebody may have the answer. Yeah.
Anything else, Charlie?
No, that's it, thank you.
Annie?
No, my question got answered already.
Dean, and then Carolyn, and then Grant.
Yeah, just piggybacking on what Charlie said, I think we probably hit a point now that software implementation has sort of ended, I think, at the Treasury side, that we really should kind of nudge them along to look at their workflows and how it relates to their people and personnel. And putting a little bit more detail on, I think, what Charlie was trying to articulate, it's just, I think, a pretty simple example, right? Is when we had ICS, 10 years ago, that awful, outdated.
Homegrown.
It was built during the first Reagan administration, and it carried on through, I don't know, the end of Obama. It had a good life. No, but I think because of limitation to that system, right? Essentially, even if checks, let's say it's the volume checks, right? Checks used to come in, and whatever work is done at that counter was effectively useless. Not useless. It didn't have a lot of value. You collect a check, you receive, you say thank you. Now it's gotta go to the back, keyed and processed on ICS, right? Now, if you bring a check in, and they got that little beep beep, yeah, it's in. We're good. It doesn't have to go to the back to be processed anymore. And so it's interesting, because I think in that regard, it's just an example, right? Because of the implementation of whatever that system is that they use, I forget, I'm blanking out.
Units?
No, the module that they use in the treasurer's office. They have a module for their collection. Because they went from like.
It's part of Munis, it's a module of Munis.
It is part of Munis, yes, thank you. The work is actually, I would, like, the work of, let's say, somebody doing like a real estate collection job is less. Because there's more work going on up front. Like, and it's, you're not keying it in, and I think to Charlie's point, is that, you know, if no one's kicking you or pushing you to analyze that, you just don't do it, you're like, everything's
Yeah.
fine, and I think the question is, what is
Just
that
change
like?
stuff. You know, but I think that's what they've kind of said is we're gonna look at the workloads and kind of see what makes sense, but I'm happy to ask the pointed question.
No, we just keep measuring.
Yeah, no, it's fine,
I think-
it's just a gentle word, you know, it's just nice to see that attitude there. You know, hey, we're gonna look at, see what we really need. And the use of the third party once for variable capacity.
Carolyn?
So remember, she did just start in November, so give her a little bit of time to before you kick her.
It's been 3 months.
Yeah. But the one thing I just wanna point out is the vacant SUSA, the excised one, it needs to be a 0.5, not a full FTE. And that's exactly the number they've come up with. So that's half the salary of 2673, half the salary of 53, or 776.
So which line?
So-
This line right here?
Assistant
Yeah,
collector
this
for
is
excise.
For excise, that needs to be a 0.5.
Wait, the pay is right.
Right, the pay is great, but the FTE is wrong. It's like, why is this
So
number so much
this one right,
lower?
this one right there, right?
Yeah,
Is that it? Just that one?
that's
Okay,
it, that's, yeah.
all right.
Grant?
Thank you, Andrew. Is the line under tax taking?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that?
It's when they take someone's, it's like foreclosure,
So when someone doesn't pay the taxes,
someone does pay the taxes.
there's the process that usually doesn't conclude.
Yeah.
Because they usually end up paying somehow.
Starts with an extra notice. You know, the public paper record, you know, you've seen all those, and it could include steps up to and including a sheriff's auction, which I guess extremely rare.
So the 15,000 that's budgeted every year, but the 8,000 that's actually spent is for these notices that get sent out? That isn't.
It might be legal fees too, I'm not sure.
I think it could be.
Well, there's legal services.
Yeah.
And then there's printing.
I can get more detail.
And, I mean, it's only $8,000, but, that could be, what do you wanna, what was the term you used for the, banking services? When they, it made it just more to actual than budget, right size.
Oh, right size.
And then they want to right size that as well, because as you say, the process is, never, usually doesn't get to the end.
Yeah.
You got a third notice or something like that, or,
Yeah, I don't know if it's just hard to predict, so they just keep putting a safe number or what, but I'll find out.
Oh, we talk about the legal bills?
Go ahead, Jean.
Legals are.
So one of the things about the takings, we talked about this before at Finance Committee, is.
I was probably sleeping.
It's fine. So this is, I think I can summarize this quickly, is all the costs you incur, the town incurs on delinquent taxes and all that, they can bill to the person they're trying to collect from, okay? The issues, what has nothing to do with actual collection of funds, what it has to do with is the Commonwealth has been on this kick for about 10 years now, forbidding net accounting. So because you can recover the cost does not mean you can avoid showing the expense. And so the challenge with like legal services is forever and ever, those used to just get rolled into the revenue you were gonna get back. And so it didn't show up anywhere on your budget. But the Commonwealth is like, absolutely not. Even if you're getting it back, you have to show the expense. And so it started showing up on this bill a handful of years back because they made us do it.
So that's why it's increased.
So that's why it's like legal services, I think you mentioned that, that's why it's volatile. So it's 30, before you would have just seen zero straight across. Now you have to see like, it's 31 grand, but we get that 31 grand back. You just don't see it coming back because it goes into the general fund. Next year it's 3 grand, and so in their mind, they're probably like, who cares, we're getting it back.
Probably, but is that addressing tax taking or legal services?
Everything in dealing with tax taking, everything gets recovered from the town. But you have to show it in the budget.
Okay.
Anything else, Grant?
Does that answer it for you?
No, can it be shown as 8,000 instead of 15,000?
You can do whatever you want.
Well, just curious, you know, right sizing, why not? It is an interesting little anomaly.
All right, I'll find out.
Thank you, it was more about what it involved. Still not sure what it involves, because, thank you.
Elsowski.
When the prior treasurer had retired, in the interim, Bill Fowler came in as temporary treasurer. He had a lot of experience, another guy personally, and we asked him, about the staffing. And he said that the office works incredibly well. Everything gets done on time, everything gets done accurately. So it was sort of his argument towards the current staffing levels. But we'll see what she comes up with. I get nervous when I see 3 vacancies out of 10. I mean, that's a lot of vacancies. And one of the things that often falls through the cracks is the bank reconciliations. Because if you fall a month behind on your bank reconciliations, especially with the level of stuff we do, that could be a disaster. So if you could ask her next time you talk to her, are you keeping up all the reconciliations are being kept up? And
Zero right in on that, but you're absolutely right.
yeah. And the second thing is, I don't know if you know this, but if you could ask, what's the percentage of people now paying on the internet versus paying in person or with mail-in checks? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it depends on the type of tax, but yeah, I'll ask.
Well, property tax.
Most of that happens through escrow,
That's true.
so I don't know. I'm assuming that's electronic, but I'll ask.
Yeah, well, the escrow will be electronic on the last, it always comes in the last day it's due, because banks are like that.
Yeah, they're funny that way, thanks.
Yeah,
They're crazy
but
that way.
I'm just curious, then you take motor vehicle excise, or you take your water and sewer, are they being paid electronically, or are they being paid by check? I was just
All
curious.
right, I'll find out, yeah, answer your question.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, shall we take a vote on the motion? All in favor, say of 737182, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Seventeen. Opposed? 1. Any abstentions? All right, budget passes 17-1-0. Thank you, Chuck. Posted?
Yeah, postage, yeah. Do we have enough time?
I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so postage is no more FTEs, they moved to a cashier in the treasurer's office. 48, sorry, page 48, right after treasurer.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's this next page. Not much to say here, the data processing is the Pitney Bowes machine. The postage is for the whole town, it went from 125 to 153 because it was misbudgeted last year. And that includes all departments. And we talked last year, the postage, school labels are postage. So that's kind of it, pretty simple. So I make a motion to approve the 135,564 for postage.
Is there a second? Second.
Second.
Thank you. Questions, Michael?
Where does the offset come from?
Water and sewer.
Is it water and sewer?
Sorry.
I don't know.
Charlie?
Why is the data processing down 40%?
It's an old Pitney Bowes machine, and I'm guessing it needed more maintenance last year than it did this year, but I'll find out. They need a new one, so they should put in for a request.
Other questions on this budget?
The other cashier,
That's right.
All right, those in favor of approving the posted budget at 135564, raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay. Parking.
Parking is page 65. So if you're scrolling on your computer, you usually have to add about 5 pages when you get to it. Oh, sorry, 65 is the cover page, so go to 66 plus lives. Okay, why don't we start with salaries? So come down another page. So the POCs, the ones who collect the parking, do the parking tickets, give out parking tickets, they're in the police budget. And so you see an offset when we go back to the budget page. And that offset is from parking to the police force. And as the only person we have here is the collections manager. And this year she's getting a step, she or he is getting a step and a longevity, which is why the pay has changed. And then if you go back to the budget page, there's occasionally some overtime, and so they set some money aside for that. There's professional services, printing, and then the offset is what they have to, what they get from police, what they have to give to police.
Did they get from the parking district?
They get money. From the parking district. Okay. So that's the salary. However, if you go to your agenda page, you will, or the meeting page, you will find the parking revolving fund budget. And the reason for that is, and it's got bright green for section headings. And the reason for that is because the parking fund budget is a revolving fund, which is sort of like an enterprise fund. So what happens is the money is collected, and then most of that funds, because we either passed a law or got the state to, we passed a law related to a state option where
We
the
accepted a state option.
we accepted a state option.
Yep.
Where the town can then take that money and put it into a business area district for funds in that business area. So if you look at this, my notes in column I tell you what that line item is for, and the first small section is revenues. So that's where the revenues are coming from. If you notice, I've highlighted one of them, and that's because when they were doing something with changing the in the system, they checked the button and they stopped getting their revenues from the company that does this. And they figured that out a while ago, and they're going back and forth, and so that number should be somewhere between 20,000 and 42,000 at the end of the year. So that number's going to go up, and they will fix it before the end of the fiscal year. At least that's the plan. If you come down to the expenditures, I highlighted 61,260. Well, this happened in the spring. Oh, they had to replace a meter, a kiosk, and so that's why that is actually, they probably had to replace more than one kiosk. The kiosks don't hold up that well, and they're proposing, it looks like they're proposing to replace another one this coming year, this coming fiscal year. If you go down to the parking benefit district and you see that 200,000 highlighted, this is a project that Lynn thought had gone out to bid last summer and was going to be done in the fall, and they were told, oh, you should probably wait till the spring for this, particularly since it involves trees and plants, and you'll get better trees and plants in the spring. But in fact, the bid hasn't even gone out yet. They hope to have the bid go out, and that's coming out of the planning department. They hope to have the bid go out in the next couple of weeks. And they hope to have it done by June, before the fiscal year ends. And I do have the plans in an email, and I apologize, I got them this morning and I didn't upload them, but I will have them uploaded in the SharePoint under parking and in the minutes, the agenda or the minutes for here, and I'll send an email out to everyone so you'll get them. The contract does not include redoing the entire parking lot. So 200,000 seems high for me, but what do I know? So it won't be above 200,000, but it may be close to that. And that's all I have to say about that. If you have any questions about any of the other line items, let me know. Or ask, and I'll read what I wrote, see if I can remember more details.
Okay, Carol, do you have a motion
Oh,
for the
sorry.
parking?
The motion
budget?
is, go back to the other page, that we accept the parking budget as is for 38, is that really it, 38? Yeah, 38,836.
Second.
So let's focus on the parking budget, and then we'll focus on the
Oh, it's
revolving
because of
fund.
the offset.
Do you have questions on?
Well, my question was, I didn't see the offset in the parking fund budget, but I'm not sure what the discussion was. I would have thought the offset would be in the parking fund budget, but maybe that's the next topic of discussion. The 60,
She said it was related to police.
the 62,735? Yeah, but it should be an expense in the revolving fund
right.
budget, I would think.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for. So
Okay.
maybe that's the next discussion.
No, that's, well, and then let me, where's the, where's,
Rebecca? There's a line that says parking enforcement /admin for 190,000.
oh,
that says,
yes, that's
this
probably
includes
it.
parking budget, salary, and offset to police. I
Okay,
think
which
that's
number
where it
was
must
it?
be.
That's probably
Okay,
it.
got it, yeah.
18?
So is that the one, okay, I see, you put it in, yes, so that's the offset.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, and it says offset, sorry.
And then offset is 62,735?
It's larger on 18 because it's that and the.
Yeah.
So it's the salary. This includes the parking budget salary, so it's the salary person, the manager, plus the offset to the police. And then she might have said something else, which I have questions.
There's all those question marks there.
Right, what's those question marks for, sorry?
Al?
I just suggest that when you do the FinCom report, that it break out both items, so people who cross-check will see it.
Yeah.
We have a few of those.
All right, other questions on the parking budget? Charlie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not a question for, well, it is a question, and it's for the comment as well. On the spreadsheet, the green spreadsheet that we have, I can't see how they're gonna be able to spend $400,000 between now and the end of the year, based on what we know, especially when of the $186,000 in the benefits district subtotal, $111,000 is encumbered, which means they think they're gonna spend it, but it hasn't been spent, as far as I gather. So, you know, here we are going into a budget crisis that's calling for an override. And this budget is sitting with somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 of money that we can't touch or use for anything else. And we're in this position because the Finance Committee supported this balkanization of funds. In other words, this doesn't go into the general fund, it stays in this revolving fund. It can only be spent on those few blocks in the center of town. And, you know, if we need more police officers or we need more teachers in this financial environment, this money can't be used for that. So I think we'll see coming up in the warrant a couple of articles looking for revolving funds on some other buildings or whatever. And I think it's a mistake to balkanize, put all these things in silos. We were talking about the school system before with the IT being in a silo, right? This is another silo. And it just reduces the financial flexibility of the town, and it wind up in some situations, you know, paying, I'm sure the trees are nice in the center of town, but maybe in a bad year, we don't need more trees in the center of town. So I just think we need to be really careful about building silos that we can't change in the future.
John?
That was a nice question.
Good comment.
Question mark at the end of it?
Yeah, I just want to say, I agree with everything Charlie says. I do want to point out maybe one check on that is, the town manager probably maybe noticed it and had similar sentiments in his letter at the beginning of the budget. They are increasing the parking fund offset to cover 75% of the salary. So that was a change this year. I think that they scrubbed the budget to just to look for any additional revenue sources. They did identify exactly what you're talking about, so it doesn't go completely unnoticed.
Carolyn?
That's correct, and I missed that, the manager's salary that you see on the budget line, salary page, is only covered 75% from here, not 100%. And if you know about enterprise funds, you'll know that now 100% of the salary and 100% of the benefits are covered by the fees in the enterprise fund. And so maybe that's another thing we can suggest here, is that this salaried person, all of their benefits and all of their salary is covered by the parking fund. And so that at least takes out a little bit of money. And I agree with Charlie, you know.
Grant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have two questions or points or whatever. One is in this whole process, so parking fees get collected by the town and the total revenue for that is on the spreadsheet?
Yes.
And that includes the new and improved high overnight parking program?
Yes.
Did we have a breakdown of, this was a question I did ask earlier, what that amounts to?
No, so that's not a line item here, is it, under revenues? Multi-changing station, pay by phone. Huh, yeah, okay.
And this is only monies collected through devices.
line item,
Okay, so where is it?
Right.
right, the line item for.
And also there's parking tickets, right? Where does that go to a different?
That was never in this.
Yeah, parking tickets isn't in this.
But, so the overnight parking program, which is now one of our pilot programs, is now a full-time program, they charge right a year, $365 per person. About 15 grand, I was curious about.
With somebody's 15 grand.
Yeah, I mean, it might, at the moment, it might be in the pay by phone is, when
So, I
you,
mean,
is,
it's
that's a
whole thing
meter.
enough, but that'd be nice, I was curious about what that amount was, because it's a new,
Right.
it's a new line of revenue, along with liquor stores and stuff that the town can do first. Well, I mean, if you think about it, the overnight parking is illegal. But it's okay if you pay the town, then it becomes legal if you pay the town, so it's a nice little thing, and it's fine because of the parking spaces.
Are you talking about a program that's in the center?
No.
That's why it wouldn't be here, because this is only for the
That's
center.
right, so, yeah, but is it on the Stoward page? I mean, on the budget page. It just goes, yeah, where does the money go then? Okay.
General fund
Somewhere
revenue,
else,
right?
yeah.
Local
So
receipts.
Yeah. So the parking fund is only for that
For that area.
area, and
So
that's
then
that.
the question is, where is that?
It may not be at all in this budget, I think it'd be in fees. Other fee line items.
In revenue.
Yeah.
Would that be counted somewhere else?
What are you looking at?
The overnight parking fees, is that what you're saying?
Private general fund directly.
Yeah, local receipts.
Local receipts straight to the general fund.
Paul?
The related question is, what person manages the overnight parking fee set? Probably not this person, but somebody, select board's office.
Treasurer's office is where it used to be, a select person's office used to issue it, and now they moved it to the treasurer's office, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it goes.
Who manages overnight parking, is that what you just said?
Right.
So, yeah, the treasurer manages parking, I mean, that was, she showed up in November, and she's like, yeah, it's really interesting, all these extra little budgets I'm responsible for, postage, parking, and I keep learning about them, so, yes, it's their department.
Other questions, David?
Just when you mentioned overnight parking and there's a fee, are you talking about on street or off street?
On
Street, sorry.
So you can now park at the same front of your house and you pay a fee?
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't been aware of this. I know there's, for a good number of years, like, you take the schools, they opened up the school parking lots at night, and people were paying $300 for that. The parking lot open, they had to be out by a certain time and all that. And that was all generated through the selectmen's office. And the fees come back and it went into the general fund.
General fund, okay. So it's probably the same thing.
Other questions on parking, Tilson?
So just on the line item about 13 here, $135,000 for IPS CCP coin collection. I wonder about that. With coins being used less, credit card fees are about 3% maybe. I just wonder if, to the same point earlier about technology helping, streamline things, if that seems like an awful lot of money.
So, right, so that's for the vendor who collects the coins and maintains the meters, so
Right.
it's also meter maintenance.
I get that.
And there's a few places where in town where we don't have coins, because I actually still use coins. And I got really annoyed when I went to park at one meter and it didn't take coins, and I didn't have the app on my system yet, and on my phone yet, and I was totally annoyed, and so I didn't pay anything, hoping I wouldn't get a ticket. But there are those of us still doing that.
No, there are, but
Yeah,
there's fewer people.
But there's fewer, so when do we think this will go down? Okay, let me throw that in there.
Michael?
I asked how the actual delegations or decisions on what gets spent on what items in the parking benefit district are made. It's a committee decision. Various persons, representatives from the business community, assistant town manager also is a member of that committee. So I'm intending to ask the town manager, how is it that the allocations are made? And I'm sorry, it seems kind of haphazard, looking at, row 28, electric upgrades, 25,000, budget in 26, actual 0. Decorative lighting, budgeted 26, $75,000, actual 0. It does not seem to be a logical scheme.
Don't they have to spend the money?
So wait, okay.
No, there's a balance, there's a fund balance.
Do you have a response, Carolyn?
So holiday lights year round, well, you had this conversation with her after I saw her.
Mhm.
So what was her answer?
It's a committee decision.
Well, there you go. You may not like it, but it's a committee decision.
Actual to budget though shouldn't be a committee decision. It should be carried out.
So so in other words, in FY 25, they budgeted for 75 for decorative lighting. The question is, will they spend it? Okay, they didn't spend anything. So they chose not to do that project, which then left more money in the overall balance in the end. Which gives them, as Charlie put, more money to spend in the future, in a very limited part of town. Then they went to 30, and they've already spent 25 of it. So this time around, they've actually spent most of what they thought they wanted to spend it on. So so then the question is, what specifically? Now remember, she just started this job in November, and that includes all of the treasury job. So part of the reason she doesn't have these answers is because this is low on the totem pole. I would assume if I were her, I would be putting it low on the totem pole. But I can, if you want, I can ask, or maybe Michael and I can meet with the committee and ask them, so what's your plan with this? Why do you want to do this?
Alan?
I would like to offer an amendment to the budget to get it on the table. That we increase the offset from $62,735 to $85,071. Or the full cost.
At the full cost.
Okay,
There.
second.
Can you repeat that?
Increase the offset from $62,735 to $85,071, which is the full salary line.
Brings
Because
the taxation total
So
to,
then we have to add it, how much am I adding into the
that would reduce the taxation total. We'd have to adjust the parking budget. Reduce the taxation total accordingly.
Recording too.
Put the 20,000 back into IT.
so we need a,
So I'm changing the 190, I'm increasing the 190.
16,500 would be the taxation total.
for parking,
Yeah, for parking.
16,500.
16,500, it would just be the.
Yeah, 16,500.
Okay, but then I have to change the other one, okay.
That would also change the parking benefit district.
Yeah, but we're not voting the parking district tonight, are we?
I wanted to, but we don't. All right, so we have is there a second?
Second.
Alan's motion. All right, so,
Would just be appropriating 16,500.
so there's a motion to, approve a budget for parking in the amount of $16,500. Everyone understand that? Any discussion about that?
So it's 16,005.
No,
500.
16,500.
Just the expenses.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of Alan's motion, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Minus Annie.
That's unanimous as we're here. As we're in. All right, so we would have to adjust the parking benefits district numbers. I don't know if we want to do that tonight or come back on Monday and do that. Maybe we would have some more information on Monday, Caroline.
We can do that Monday.
All right. So, couple of follow-ups. Carol, please.
Not to throw a logistical wrench in all our fun, but do we approve or endorse the parking benefits district budget?
I think we endorse.
We endorse.
So we're suggesting to the committee.
Yeah.
As they change their budget.
Well, I think that, I wonder if the treasurer can do that.
I think the treasurer can do that.
Al, can you give me the exact number for the offset, if it's not gonna be 20?
It's the exact salary number, $85,071.
Oh, okay, so just go to the salary line.
It's exactly the parking salary.
Okay.
So if you can run this by the treasurer and get some more information and come back to us on Monday, after we deal with the CPA.
Parking benefit district is submitted by the manager, so I want to ask him.
We have to look carefully at the revolving fund bylaw, whatever created the revolving fund, and make sure that it's a legitimate use.
You don't think it's a regular revolving fund though, it's the benefit district, which has its own set of rules.
You know,
But I don't think
check those legal.
don't think there's any reason why we can't do it. If we can do it 75%, we can do it 100%.
The manager would know.
Alright, so Carolyn had some questions that we told her to go off on and get information on human resources, and you got some information and you posted it to your point, those.
Yes.
So I don't know if people have, go ahead, Karen.
Before we do that, can we do something else? And that is, we need to re-vote on the reclassification information, because she's been doing some house cleaning and has deleted 4 positions. Don't worry, there's no money involved, she didn't add anything, she didn't reclassify anything, but she deleted 4 positions which are now on the sheet that we approved. Do we need to re-vote on it?
We need to re-vote, but I'm not sure what we're talking about. I think we
So
need something in front of us.
So for reclass.
Yeah, but we need something in front of us. Do you have something?
Yeah, it's in the document, it's in the SharePoint,
Do
both
you have
in the
that?
agenda and it's in the, it's the Word document is the first thing. But you can also pull up the Excel spreadsheet if you want, because I put it in both. But if you look at, what's this?
Which one do you prefer?
2026-3 to FY27 reclassification town meeting doc, with the Word doc,
Do you want the Word or do you want the Excel?
the Word, put the Word up.
Are they the last 4?
It's the last 4. It's
So
F through I. The DEI position down through the grants administrator. I'm on the Excel spreadsheet because it tells me what each position is. And so if you go to the Excel spreadsheet, if you want, it's the bottom right-hand corner, and it's in pink and purple. So we're getting rid of the diversity assistant. It was the initial title before ARPA funding. That title was changed during ARPA funding, and now the entire position is being removed. Community outreach and engagement. Oh, no. This position is, shoot. Oh, maybe that's what the change is.
So why don't we just vote on the Word document?
Just vote on the Word document. The domestic violence is being cut, was never filled, and it's being covered by other people at the town Health and Human Services. I'm not sure about the community engagement one, I'm sorry. But if you just vote on what it says on the Word doc, then the Word doc will be what is shown to town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Alright, do people have any questions? Alright, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, unanimous.
Okay, we can do the other reclass questions.
Well, I would ask that people look at what
Right, look at what's on
Carolyn
the
has
share.
posted. If you have any additional questions or what she has posted on SharePoint doesn't answer them, get back to Carolyn and she'll get more information. But hopefully what she's already posted is to everyone. All right, so we have CPA and then we'll revisit parking, IT maybe.
I doubt it on Monday, just because Jim is only getting back Monday.
And we'll go back to facilities.
We sent the questions, I hope we can get an answer before the town manager's back, but I'll let you know.
All right, does anyone have anything else, Natalia?
Sorry.
The proponents of Article 3161B that Topher is asking for, is available on the 9th as well. So they'll be coming in Carmen Cornici.
All right, so we'll do CPA and then that warrant article, and then we'll go into whatever budgets we have.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.